my dear friend Phreak is cooking up some changes for 14.23. Let's talk about it. So we have several changes. First of all, I'm not obviously gonna watch 1 hour and 12 minutes of this video. I'm just gonna read most of the TLDRs that he has written. I watched it a little bit. Myself in the morning, not fully though, just to understand some of the thought processes behind some of these changes. So here he talks about Ambessa. It's day 2. She had 40% win rate on release. Right now it's closing to 44. Blah blah blah. She's likely OP long term. I don't know. Phreak has said this many times. Like for example, when Hui was released, Phreak also said that Hui is OP, and Hui was not OP because his win rate slowed down, like his win rate gain slowed down, and then they had to massively buff him and stuff like that. So this is not necessarily true. I don't think Ambessa is OP long term, at least like right now, based on my feeling of playing her. I think what's gonna happen is there's a very high chance Riot is going to buff it very soon, and then say like, hey, we're buffing it now, but in the future, we're probably going to have to nerf it, kind of like they did with Hui, same reasoning. So yeah, like basically, doesn't say much here. I think he explains like why she has certain mechanics, which makes sense. Like, I mean, I didn't even watch this part of the video, but it obviously makes sense. If she doesn't have armor pen in R inbuilt, then her damage would be very bad because armor will counter her way too much. Why she has HP damage percent, a lot of bruisers have that because they need it, right? And then why does she have life still? Because that she has no sustain. It's like her ultimate kind of needs to work in a way to fix some of the deficiencies that she has otherwise with the kit. Energy restore on passive. He probably talks here about the fact that she has to, the energy restore on passive makes her incentivized to auto attack as she would just perma spam abilities, right? So this part is like kind of whatever. So this is Ambessa. Then it's like bounties. So this part, it's hard for me to talk about because I don't really understand exactly what they're changing. So I watched this part a little bit. He said in the video that he thinks people are crying too much because the new system is basically better than the old one. But I think it will be better once they actually tune it. But I don't know, but whatever. And then he said that people weren't crying about old bounties, which is kind of untrue. Like, the reality is that once you have a certain thing in the game for a very long amount of time, people will stop complaining about it because they just accept it for what it is, right? I think right now, if you remove LeBlanc from the game and put her into the game with memory wiped about people will complain about LeBlanc probably 3 times the amount of what they're complaining right now, or like a yawn or something like that. So I don't agree exactly with what he was saying. Oddities of actual community scrutiny. So this is like the community thing. Inherent changes from last system, reducing both sides of the equation. Also, you're supposed to lose when you're losing hard. Yes, I mean, obviously I don't disagree with this. Like, what people are complaining is the fact that you're 10k gold down and you get a bounty, which is absolutely wrong. There's no argument about it. It's just wrong. Changes. Faster, accurate for kills assist, objective bounties cap higher. Stronger devaluation of losing team bounties. Honestly, I don't think I can comment anything on this because I don't, like, without actually understanding what these words mean, I'm just gonna skip this. So this is where we got to the interesting part. So Aurora is getting a pretty big reshape in terms of how they want to push her. So if my understanding is they're gonna make her a lot easier to play because she's extremely pro skewed and high elo skewed, and she has, in a way, a terrible design. In some ways, it's not a very good design. It's not very enjoyable experience of League to play against it. She has a lot of issues as a character. So here, I think they're going to kind of dismantle her apart, which is going to remove a large portion of Aurora's identity, in my opinion. But I don't know, this, honestly, I don't think I'm opposed to these changes. I think long-term, I definitely see why she's a problem and why Riot needs to act fast. This is really fast, though. Aurora is pretty newly released champion, and Riot is insanely fast at acting here. So let's read what they're doing it. So passive will no longer give move speed, which is kind of like a lever that's extremely highly skewed as well, right? And it's very frustrating for top lane specifically, as she perma procs passive melee champs, and then she has perma move speed and perma kites. Q and E specifically will get higher range. So this is, Aurora will no longer have that weakness where she's very low range. Now she's going to have higher range on these abilities, and this is actually, like, this is a lot of power, right, for a champion. It says more damage on Q, higher cooldown on Q, so it's going to be less spammable, so if you miss it, you're more punished. and automatic recast on Q. I don't know what this means. I hope this doesn't mean that Q is going to auto recast the moment you apply it to someone. That would be pretty skill expressive, like it removes skill expression from the kit. So I'm not gonna comment on this line. I hope it's not what I think it is, because that would be a bad change in my opinion. Oh, if it will recast if it times out. Oh, okay. It's a really nice quality of life buff then. Okay. So W will no longer reset on takedown, which is pretty huge. Let's be honest. This ability was resettable in team fights so much. And I think this is also going to make Aurora have a harder time like all-ins in team fights, especially with R forward going into backline, because she really relies on a reset to get W to then escape, right? CD minus, so the ability is probably going to be a lot less CD. I'm expecting at least 4 seconds off on CD, for sure, at least 4 I would say. And it will grant move speed on cast, kind of like passive, so you will have W still working as a mobility tool. E is also going to have higher range, and then R will have less move speed, so I guess you're going to be running around in R slower. The trap is going to be a slow, so R of Aurora is no longer going to be a Camille ult. It will no longer trap people. I think now, if you go past the barrier, it will slow you. And the duration of R is going to go up, kind of like it was probably before when she was first released. So, my initial thoughts is that Rell is removing a lot of levers that make her prosecute and high loss cute, like no passive move speed, like no W reset on takedown, and like the trap being removed to slow. So I think, and then to compensate these things, right, because these are big nerfs, they're giving her more range on Q and E, and more damage. So, okay, here's what I think is going to ultimately happen with the champion. She's going to be probably a better mid laner because of this as a result, and maybe a little bit worse of a top laner, and she's going to be less unique. She's going to feel more like a standard mage that you can just pick any of them, okay? And I think this is kind of bad, because this means that Aurora is not cool as a champion. Like, she's not unique for a new champion. She's not, how do I say it, like, she's not being different compared to other champions. She's going to feel more like a regular mage. Yeah, that's kind of my thoughts. Again, I totally understand Riot's position, why they feel the need to do these changes. I do think she's a big problem, and this is how they're doing it. I guess time will tell how it's gonna be. Okay, then we have more things. Okay, so Rell part 1. Problem of Rell is that CC chaining is somehow a pro elite skewed and floors her a lot to other abilities. She's a tank, she's supposed to be fast. Problem, some of her stuff is bad. Problem, is needlessly complex. So, I watched the Phreak video here. Okay, so I watched the Phreak video. He said, okay, this is one of my favorite parts because I think he nailed it. This is the one time where I agree with Phreak. In the video, if you watch it yourself, he basically said that Rell is giga uninteractive because she has so much crowd control on the kit that she makes champions not move for 4 seconds. And I couldn't agree more. I'm super frustrated when I play the game by the same thing. And Phreak thinks this is extremely pro skewed and high elo skewed. This champion has absurd amount of CC, and this is why he wants to do changes to her. So here's like problems listed. Part 2 is like, so he's going to make Q, W, I think have less CCs, basically. These spells are going to have less CCs. She's going to have probably better base stats. W dismount mount changes, so I think this means that she's probably going to be faster when she's mounted maybe. Passive is going to, I think, give more resist if I'm reading right. Her base attack speed is going to be higher because Phreak thinks Rell is bad at clearing wards, so he's buffing her attack speed. And then there's something also about E. So apparently E, I didn't really watch this part, but apparently E is a mega complex spell, and he's just making it half less complex. It has mechanics that apparently only good players can use, and an average Rell doesn't use. So I think these changes as a result are probably gonna make Rell more normal skewed, or like better in like average play, and probably a little bit worse in pro play and high elo. And yeah, we'll see how it pans out. I think Riot is nailing it. I think Phreak is doing a good job here, because I do think Rell having 4 seconds of CC not being able to move for a very long amount of time is very problematic for the game. And then lastly, Smolder. So goal is to get him out of pro jail, and what they're gonna do is they're gonna make him worse as a stack scaler. Stack scaling is probably high elo skewed. I mean, no, it's actually low elo skewed and high elo skewed in a way. Good players are better at stacking, but bad players are games go longer, so they have more time to stack. Wave clear on Smolder is gonna get deleted. Gold scaling is gonna be up, so more incentivized to get gold. So, you know, if he falls behind, he's gonna be more punished. opposed to if you only get XP, then it's like fine, right? And then mana. They're giving him mana on Q, so if I skip forward here, you can read it for yourself. But basically, R, W, and Q are gonna do a lot less damage to minions, which is going to fuck Smolder's wave clear. And then R is gonna be more spammable, E is gonna, it seems, do more damage. W is gonna be cost, I don't know if it's plus or minus, different damage shift, better ratio, so better scaling. And then Q specifically is going to scale worse with stacks, but it's gonna have bonus AD instead of total AD ratio. And then it's gonna give you mana refund, so it's gonna have an inbuilt Shin proc. So you're gonna get, inbuilt Essence River, basically. So I think you're gonna need a lot less mana on the champion, so probably Smolder will no longer be, is gonna need to build like any mana runes or anything like that. Yeah.